What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Big Vol'n Podcast on the Field of 68. Make sure you subscribe for us. Big Vol'n Podcast, Field of 68. And I am thrilled to be joined by assistant coach Desmond Oliver, a key to the resurgence of Tennessee basketball. Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
I bet you are. You got the number 8 team in the country. I know you guys can't buy into the rankings, but with all that said, I mean, you got to be proud with how the team's playing so far. What surprised you the most so far in this early season?
Well, I mean, honestly, the idea of our guys having enough maturity to handle playing ball, via COVID, fighting this whole COVID and trying to, finish up academically at a high level, which they all did. There's so much, you end the season last March, you go through a kind of a different type of summer with COVID, and then you have a pause, you come back and you're playing a bunch of games. So I'm surprised at how mature our kids have been with being able to be focused, get focused for games that come back to back. Like, for example, we're going to play tomorrow against USC Upstate on a one-day prep. So normally we would have a day off after playing a game and then 2 days to prepare for the next game. We're kind of in like tournament mode where you play, you win a game, you advance, you got day to prep, and you play again 2 days later, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and totally impressed about how the team has just carried themselves on the court so far. Obviously off the court speaks to their character and y'all's leadership. Getting to do some of the SEC network games early on, haven't had every team, but one of the consistent things as you talk to coaches is just understanding there's bigger problems in the world with the pandemic, but with the off season, that's a time for guys to, number worry about themselves, get better individually, but it's also a great time to bond. And so as you try to get a routine, you try to get those bonding moments, then all of a sudden you're finishing up drills and you're saying, all right, instead of hanging out, everybody, go your separate ways, stay away from each other. How big of an advantage do you think it was having so many veterans this year to where you guys kind of already had that chemistry to where, you didn't get that offseason opportunity, but because you guys weren't brand new, maybe you're a little bit ahead of some other programs?
Oh, there's no doubt that helped a ton. The fact that we added, you're adding, our freshmen, Corey Walker, Jaden Springer, Keon Johnson, and EJ Anisiki wasn't around last year. He's new. VJ Bailey was set out. He was here last year. So really only 4 new guys were added to our team, including, outside of our walk-ons. That definitely helps. The fact that we had guys knew each other, they had a feel for each other. They knew what to expect. They had been through the wars. And more importantly, they understood the culture of our program. And to me, that's the word that has really helped define who we are, is our culture. No matter what's happening, if there's a pause and a shutdown, they know they got to find ways to keep themselves in pretty decent shape. So you got guys out there running, jogging out there around, on the streets. You got guys on the track on their own, getting work in. So our culture, I think, has really helped us. And then we've lucked up in recruiting where we've got some high character guys who really care about basketball and academics.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you've lucked up. You guys have done a pretty darn good job with that. But it is a luxury to have when you got 5-star kids, projected lottery picks, and everything I just described is your bench. So there's not many people that can say that's what we got coming off the bench. But it didn't happen overnight. And you touched on culture, which sometimes people think that's an overused word when it comes to basketball or any sport, but it's not, and you can't take it for granted. You've been around about 9 different programs in your coaching career. So I got to think this is one of the best cultures you've ever seen. But when and where did that truly begin in y'all's first season, and when did you start to see it make a turn that and turn the corner that everybody can point to, hey, Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, and the progress they made, but that doesn't necessarily take you back to when the culture started changing?
Sure. Well, day one, our first team meeting 6 years ago, and Rick Barnes gets a team in front of him. We got Armani Moore and Kevin Punter, and those guys are all sitting there, guys that we didn't recruit. And our team wasn't very good. And we knew our team wasn't very talented. But Coach believed that we could, find a way to make the tournament. He felt like if we get these guys to buy into playing team defense, because defense takes no talent, rebound, defend and rebound at a high level, share the ball and not beat ourselves, and execute, that we had enough talent to keep games close. And all of a sudden now you have a chance to sneak it out, especially when you're at home. And I think that year we beat Kentucky that year in TBA. So that first conversation, he talked about that, about winning. And the guys kind of looked at each other sideways, like, what are you talking about? And then we talked about how we're going to do it. And the idea was Coach Garrett, our strength coach, is going to be in every single day. Our guys, plan on having a 3 to 4 day, workout window where you're going to be in with Coach Garrett, getting bigger, faster, and stronger. And then we talked about the idea of each individual player having their own set schedule outside of practice of my time, where you get in with a GA or manager, or even a coach to rebound for you, and you go get better at some aspect of your game. And guys really weren't used to that, but once you kind of explained it and showed them how to do it, and then they saw a guy like Punter, who averaged 10 points a game as a junior, who changed his shot. He shot it behind his head as a junior. Coach changed his shot. He made 1,000 shots a day in June and July to become the shooter he became as a senior when he averaged 22 points a game. When they see that, the fact that one guy can have that kind of transformation, that's when your culture takes a turn for the better, because they understand that work can change everything. Hard work can change everything.
Well, and certainly does make your job easier on the recruiting trail when you can point to those examples. Sure. And maybe guys that didn't have that full commitment, like a Robert Hubbs, who all of a sudden became a pretty good player as senior. Always a good player, but taking that next step and that commitment level. And you guys have certainly parlayed that on the recruiting trail. You as a recruiter, again, you've got a great track record. You've been at so many different programs. When you get your eyes on a kid, what's your first step as a recruiter? When you say, I want that guy, and here's how I'm going to go do it, and I'm starting right here.
Well, the first thing I've always done, so I think identifying talent is very important. And to me, talent is size, skill, and, a pretty good, decent IQ for the game of basketball. And then once you identify that, you're going to find the ABCs and Ds, in my opinion, which are academics. Is he a baller? Does he have character? Or is he a character? Don't want characters. I want high character guys. And then guys that have drive. Like all those guys you talk about from the past, Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, they were slighted. Grant Williams could have played at Carolina and Duke, but he was slighted by, some of the area programs that just had more high-level guys that were 4- and 5-star players, and he wasn't on that level initially. So they came to Tennessee with the idea of, I'm gonna prove all the schools that from my state that didn't want to recruit me, I'm gonna prove those guys wrong. So I've always tried to find those guys that have something to prove, that have talent. And sometimes the so-called experts that do all the rankings are wrong. They'll tell you a guy's a 5-star because he was, a man child when he was 15 or 13 years old as a, an 8th grader or 9th grader, and they get ranked and they keep the rankings, and then they don't ascend, they descend talent-wise. And then you get guys who weren't very good early on, but they develop. They just get better and better. They grow. They add some weight. Like in Grant's case, Grant just kept improving and improving and improving every single day. So I think that's the key. It's starting early, first and foremost, and getting you a list of a bunch of guys when they're young, getting those guys to campus, to your elite camp if you have one, and just watching and communicating with the individuals who are involved with them, and try to find out who are they. Like, who are you first? And then you start recruiting.
Well, as a former assistant coach, Rob Lanier, now at Georgia State, said, I remember when you guys had your first recruiting class, and I congratulated them. And he said, yeah, we got the guys we wanted. Now we just hope we're right. And man, you guys were right, because it was. And I've said this on the air before, and it's just the fan stance is, okay, people were excited about Rick Barnes, but the optics were kind of like, all right, is he past his prime? Is this a retirement gig? And then you can't get that excited when you're like, okay, yeah, they signed some 3-star kid out of Charlotte. To the average fan that's not in the gym watching it like you or with your basketball savvy, it's all a wait and see. And man, the progress continued to take place. But as you made those great recruitment gets, take me to what's been your most, if you can, the challenging one? Because everybody talks about recruiting the kid, but you talk about getting the people around them, because you got to figure out who are the decision makers here.
Right.
It's just like sales. All right, who's the decision maker? Is the wife driving the train or is the husband? What do you, so well, what are some stories where you're like, you know what, I had to, like, did you have to work Grant Williams' mom more than Grant Williams? And some of those examples.
Sure. Well, Grant was different because Grant and I had a relationship before I got to Tennessee. I actually saw Grant as a ninth grader when I was at UNC Charlotte and started that process of just getting my practices. And then Grant Williams, his AAU coach, Kevin Liggett, and myself, are close, not best friends, but if there's a circle of friends I have that's 10 deep, he's in it. So that was different. Like Grant was a guy that when I got the job, I said, hey, just wait. Coach Barnes is going to love you. Tennessee's going to offer you soon, so just wait for us and you're going to kill it. So that was different. The Keon Johnsons, the Jaden Springers, those were the guys because, they had so much prestige, so much hype behind their names as 5 stars.
You can't win those guys. You can't win those guys with your facilities and just the brand. You're going up against everybody else's.
Everyone's recruiting those guys.
Yeah.
So I'll say this. The one thing that's really helped me and helped our program is that we try to stay away from the kid that has a lot of people in his circle making those decisions. And in those cases, their families, their parents were very involved. Both have mom and dad at home, and mom and dad work together on decision making. So it just came down to, what do you guys want for your son? And in every case, it was, a hard-nosed coach that's going to be honest with them, develop him on and off the basketball court, and be fair and a chance to win. So I said, are you kidding me? It's a perfect fit because Coach Barnes is all about those things.
Well, Coach Barnes seems to be more the closer. He delegates the recruiting. You guys are out there on the trail getting it done. But what happens when he brings, under normal circumstances, whether it's the home visit or you get the kid to campus for a big football game and you're in the office, do you have the butterflies like, hey, we're trying to sign him. Coach Barnes is going to ask for the commitment today. Are there those moments where it's coming, you hope they say yes?
Well, Coach is unique in the sense of he has an incredible feel for people. That's why he's so good with donors, and he's just good. He's a great finisher because if he can feel that the pressure conversation is necessary, he'll bring it in his own way and get it done. If he can feel that this kid doesn't want to deal with these questions right now, let's just have a good, fun visit and not even talk about committing, he'll do it. Like, for example, Kevin Durant, when he went to see Kevin Durant, Coach Barnes tells the story. I guess he's at, whatever school Kevin was at. I'm not sure if it was Oak Hill or the school he transferred to his senior year, but there's a bunch of coaches there to see Kevin Durant. And Coach ends up being like the last guy in line to see him. If you're 10th, by the 10th meeting, that kid's tired and doesn't want to, have to talk to coaches. So Coach he could sense that KD was tapped out. He didn't want any more lectures or sales pitches. So unlike all the other 9 guys that went prior to him that were selling and saying, KD, we'll play you at the 4 spot, and we'll do it. Coach just said, hey, man, you're tired, aren't you? Kid was like, mm-hmm. He said, how about this? Come visit us in a couple of weeks. We'll get a chance to spend time with your family, and we'll talk about ball and academics then. That's it. And got on the campus. Like, who does that after you waited, 9 guys in front of you to go and talk to the kid? Who has enough confidence and feel? Because reality is you only take 5 visits. So Coach assumed that KD was going to take one of his 5 to Texas. So to say that means you just assume he's coming. And because of how smooth he was with it, no pressure, he visited. And the rest is history. So that's feel. That's feel.
Boy, that's a heck of a story there. And you're right. And you guys have been able to do it the way you guys said you would. You're going to build it with the 3 stars, then you were going to get the 5 stars. But, how important, because now Keon Johnson, Jaden Springer, I think they've got the natural motor no matter where they went. I think they were going to play with the energy and passion. But still, a 5-star to be able to come into a program, number one, and not have the pressure of having to be like, you're going to be the one to take us to the promised land. But also number 2, that, you're talking about in the offseason, guys working hard. Victor Bailey's not giving up his minutes to some 5-star. He's been putting in the work too, but Scobie's not ready to give the ball to somebody else.
Sure.
So how great has it been to make it tougher on those 5-stars to earn their keep?
Well, I think the one key ingredient to why we've had so much success with guys improving over the years has been, one, we'll spend time with them because, again, we're going to be in the gym with the guys rebounding, we're going to watch film, we're going to talk life skills and basketball with them all day, every day if they need it, or if not us, the GAs and managers are there with those guys. But for the most part, it's been competition. I think some coaches need to have 7 guys, 8 guys, and then no bench, and they just have a chemistry and they play and they win like that. I think Rick Barnes is at his best when he's got 10 or 11 good players and he can have competitive practices and they can just hit each other over the head and go at it hard and compete. And now he can have the 8th best guy go at the first guy with work ethic and every day fight and compete and push that first guy and maybe pass him. So he may put that 8th guy on the orange team as a starter for 2 weeks to get the first guy, the most talented guy, playing harder. So I think that's part of his genius, is that he understands that innately as human beings, we're all competitive. The key is getting it out of us. How do you press that button to get the competitive juices out of all of us to make us, somehow max out and become the best people and players that we can become on the basketball court?
Well, if there's one area right now, it looks like you guys are reaching your full potential, even though it's early in the season. Is this the best defensive team you've ever been a part of?
So far, it is so far. And the good thing is, as a staff, we have passion. We coach it as a staff every day. We'll break down and have a couple coaches focus on defense, 1 or 2 on offense. But we've recruited defensive personnel, like Keon Johnson could guard the ball his whole life. Jaden Springer can guard the ball. E. Pons could guard the ball. So we've gotten lucky and found some ringers that are special defensively. And now guys like Fulkerson, other guys who have needed time, Santi is much better today guarding the ball than what he was when he first arrived. So,
well, Coach, you're making me feel good. Yeah, I got to interrupt you. You're making me feel good because I was on the game last night. And towards the end of the game, I started to pick up. I was like, you know what? There's not a single guy on the court that really requires help when he's on the ball. Now, if they get beat, number one, Keon Johnson, when he got beat, he just hustled back. He was so mad, and LeBron, somebody's off the board. But then you got E. Pons, Fulkerson. I mean, the amount of help, yet they don't take their help for granted to where they're lazy on the perimeter. And I had y'all Cincinnati game, and Josiah is a kid that seems pretty soft-spoken, but he locked one of their best players up, and it was a shot clock violation or something. He starts looking at the bench like this, and everybody's into it. Yeah. And so there's guys to me and teams that play defense because they have to, and then there's others that are so dedicated defensively because they love it. And it seems like your team is embracing defense, and now they kind of enjoy the identity of, like, you know what, maybe we can be the best defensive team ever.
No, they love it. And so we're talking about that. And it's funny because this has been great for me because, one, to be with Rick Barnes at this stage of my career, it's like, other things I think I needed to become a head coach to learn, I'm learning from Coach. The leadership package, the CEO mindset, but that piece there, like, there's nothing more exciting, in my opinion, than having an athletic team that we have and telling our guys, let's be the best defensive team in the country. And when you get a stop or turnover, let's be the most exciting team to transition and not run any set plays. First couple of games after COVID, we were a little lethargic and we're trying to figure out our rotations or whatever, our bench, not quite so good. We're starting to get an identity of we're going to get stops and rebounds and run at you in waves, and we're trying to dunk it. We're going to get inside our threes. We're going to feed the post. And our offense is becoming better because of our defense. And that's really, really important.
And it's extremely rare to be so elite defensively yet still be in the top of the league on offense. That's something you guys were able to do when you were number one in the country with Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield. It was like, man, they can lock you up and they can win in the 60s. or if you want to speed it up, they can beat you in the 80s.
Right.
I'll take you back to your playing days real quick. You played for the Van Gundy's father, Bill Van Gundy. I got to ask, do you still have some Van Gundy connections, or?
No, I don't. So the story goes, I played 1 year of high school basketball. I was a very late bloomer in terms of learning how to love the game of basketball and actually working and getting better. And I wanted to play Division I. So out of high school, as opposed to going to playing Division II someplace, which kind of is where I ended up anyway, I wanted to give it 1 year just to see if I could walk on to a campus, in junior college and just have a great season and earn a scholarship somewhere D1. So I go and I sign on for Genesee Community College with Bill Van Gundy, and incredible coach. I mean, my first time really being coached, because in high school the guys I had were good guys, but they didn't understand the game like Van Gundy did. It was like a Division I coach. We had a system. He just understood how to motivate people. He was really, really tough on you. And he took a liking to me day one, I think, in terms of being a young guy that could lead a little bit. But, it was great. And I didn't know at the time, I had no idea where this all would end up as far as how that last name was going to be so famous.
Right.
So I played 1 year there. I was the backup point guard, the backup shooting guard, and backup small forward for a really good team that year. And I realized I didn't want to waste I realized I wasn't going to go Division I. So I said, well, I better save that year for Division II just to have it. So I transferred to a Division II school and played 3 years. But Bill was really good. Bill, I think looking back, Bill really helped my mindset because he allowed me to lead. I came in day one, and he allowed me to almost be like a captain. I was at all the kind of captains meetings, things, and I never saw myself as that. But I was the first guy there, last guy to leave. So I think Bill gave me confidence to recognize what I could become, and might be the reason why I'm coaching today, years later.
That's amazing. Well, last question for you. I've always respected how you guys don't really shy away from reality as a coaching staff. If you think you're going to be really good defensively, you're going to come out and say it. Hey, we're really good. If you think you're going to be weak in this area, you just say, hey, we're going to be weak. Knowing that Tennessee is yet to get to a Final Four, and knowing that you guys have already in the past been able to handle the target on your back under Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, but you've got a new roster now. What are the conversations like with this team in terms of, making history and knowing that they have a special opportunity in front of them while still keeping them grounded enough to just focus on, the coach speak, focus on the next game, but also don't forget, hey, you do have a special opportunity to make history here at Tennessee.
Sure. Well, the first thing we talk about is it's all about us, not the opponent. So it don't matter if you're playing against Duke, Carolina, Kansas, USC Upstate, App State. It's all about us and our development day to day, defensively, offensively, taking care of the basketball and so forth. So now guys don't get caught up in records, or playing against a top 25 team. It's the next game is the most important game, and they're buying into it. And then secondly, we talk about what we're, not great at, so we're really good defensively. We're athletic. We're scoring in transition. But if I'm scouting Tennessee right now, and I just talked to Keon and Jayden about this, I'm questioning, in a close game, can we make enough shots? Can you guys make enough threes? If teams took our inside game away, can our guards shoot it good enough, consistently enough to be in the 80s? And most Final Four games outside of, the Texas Tech UVA game are in the 80s and 90s. Can we play in those kind of games and make shots? Mm. So right now we have no classes going on. I don't think class starts until February. You have all day to be in the gym, perfecting your craft and getting up shots and becoming better. And that's been the sentiment, is this is work on our weaknesses. And we're a good shooting team, but can we become great and elite at making shots when we have to? The championship teams that aren't great on defense, they get stops when they have to. The ones that aren't great, knocking down threes, they make shots when they have to. So can we become that team that when we have to, playing against Auburn or whoever, and they're scoring in the 80s, can we go score 90 on the road and make 12 threes inside out?
Well, you guys have set them up for success, man. I know on behalf of all the Tennessee fans, everybody sincerely thanks you guys for the work you put in, not only bringing the talent to Tennessee, but developing it and doing it the right way. And part of your A, B, C, and D, the C, the character, has made this era just such a filled with such a likable roster from start to finish. And so all the credit to you guys. Brilliant job on the recruiting trail, developing players and representing Coach Barnes in Tennessee the right way. So you got some Christmas shopping to do for your staff there. And Merry Christmas. Thanks for all your time.
Hey, same to you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Again, it's the Big Vol'n Podcast on the Field of 68. Make sure you subscribe.